So now that we know how to represent numbers in binary, let's look at how to add numbers in binary. And if you're freaking out, this is going to be really difficult. It's not, trust me. Let's just review what binary is, though, before we get into that. It's a number system based on powers of 2, rather than based on powers of 10. So instead of having a 1s, 10s, 100s column, we have a 2s, 4s, and 8s column. We multiply by 2 every time to get the next column. So this number, which we would have thought, in decimal is 111, in binary it's a 7 because we have a 1, a 2, and a 4, right? And we add them all up and we get a 7. So there's our review of binary. It's based on powers of 2, rather than based on powers of 10. So the first thing to keep in mind when adding numbers is that there is no such thing as 2. And what do I mean by that? There's no symbol 2 like you see on this slide right here. 2 in binary is a 1 and a 0. So we don't have the symbol 2. So if we have a situation where we have to add 1 and 1, well, what does that come out to be? That's going to be 2, which in binary is that. Right? That's a 1 in the 2's place. That's a 2 and a 0. So that's a 1 in the 2's place and a 0 in the 1's place. So that's a 2 in binary. But we're not going to write it like that. We're going to write it like this when we're doing addition. We're going to write it as a 0, carry the 1. And you do this all the time when you add on paper in decimal, right? 10 plus 1 is 0, carry the 1, right? We do that all the time, but we're going to do it in binary. It's the only difference. And what about 3? What if we add 1 and 1 and 1? What do we get there? Well, that's going to become a 3, which is that in binary. That's a 2 and a 1. But we're not going to write it like that. We're going to take that first one and we're going to put it up top. So that's going to be a 1, carry the 1. So there's no symbol for 2 and there's no symbol for 3. So we're going to have to do carries just like we do in decimal. So let's pop over to the Elmo here and I'll do an example on paper. So let me just, before I start here, let me do write down my rules. So we said that 1 plus 1 was 0, carry the 1. And if we add 1, 1, and 1, that's a 1, carry the 1. So those are our two rules. So let's look at this example up here on the top left. And let's just go through that. What is 1 plus 1? Well, that's a 2. So that's this scenario. That's a 0, carry the 1. What's 1 plus 1? That's a 2, right? So that's 0, carry the 1. 1 plus 1 plus 1, that's a 3. So that's a 1, carry the 1. And then what's 1 plus 1? That is a 2 in binary, which is a 0, carry the 1, except that we've run out of digits. There's nothing to add that to, so we just bring it down. Exactly like we were adding in base 10. So that's that's our final result there. 1, 0, 1, 0, 0. All right, so now let's look at this other example here, and we'll just do a second example just to get some practice. 1 plus 1 is 0, carry the 1. 1 plus 0 plus 0, well, that's just 1. What's 1 plus 1? That's 0, carry the 1. What's 1 plus 1? 0, carry the 1. 1 plus 1 is 0, carry the 1. 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 1, carry the 1. So I find the 1, carry the 1, and then this carry, I'm done. I'm out of digits, so I just drop that down. So there is my final result. Just using those two simple rules. Now, just to prove to you that this worked, let's double check. Let's convert this to base 10 and see what this would be. So this is a 1, a 4, and an 8. So 8 plus 4 plus 1 is 13 in decimal, and this is a 7 in binary. That's 1 plus 2 plus 4. And we should end up with 20. And let's see if we do. So this is a 0, 1. This is a 1, 2, 4. That's a 4, 8, 16. So this is a 16 and a 4. Add those together and you get 20, right? So there's, just to prove, just convert it back to decimal, and and then it's just a way of double checking our work. So there you go. That's how you can add in binary. I'll throw a couple little sample problems for you to do. But if you could just remember these two rules up here, 1 plus 1 is 0, carry the 1, and 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 1, carry the 1, then you're in good shape. That's all you need to do. And then now that we know how to add, now in the video after this, what I'll show you how to do is actually count up from 0 to 16 or 15 in binary, because that gets us into an interesting number system called hexadecimal, which is used a lot in computer science. All right, so there you go. Hopefully that made sense. You got the video, obviously, but if you need help, you need this explained again in person, just feel free to pop into the conference or message me through Schoology, and I'll be happy to do some more examples.